Quitela's presence finally confirms the Dragon Ball equivalent of Tom and Jerry. Hey guys, MasakoX here. As you know, we are fast approaching the end game of the Tournament of Power, just 13 minutes to go. However, there's been one god of destruction that is still lurking around the roster, but has actually been quite absent as of late. And this is quite weird, considering that before the tournament even started, he was quite prevalent and did a lot. Along with Ro and Sidra from Universe 9, this god actually devised a plan to try and off Universe 7 before the event even began, but as we know, it didn't work. But it's still worth mentioning nonetheless. Today, we are going to be talking about everybody's favourite yellow mouse, Pikachu! No, wait, sorry. Nah, it's Quitela from Universe 4. Why are you talking about this guy, Masako? Well, actually, we are getting close to episode 119, and if you've been keeping up with Super, this guy is going to be coming back to the fore, because we've had some casualties, but this guy's still there. Now, we have to get this out of the way first and foremost. He is a mouse, and not a rat. This diagram quite clearly conveys the differences between a mouse and a rat, so there we go. However, that being said, he does act like a rat sometimes. As you might expect, mice, rats and rodents aren't usually conveyed in the best of lights throughout not just popular culture, but throughout human history. Save for the occasional cartoon. I mean, okay, The Rescuers, Chip and Dale, Tom and Jerry, those are classics, but throughout the centuries and centuries of humans existing on the planet Earth, yeah, it's not usually good. That being said, mice and rats can be very good pets if you train them right, though I wouldn't actually really want to have Quitela as a pet. That laugh of his would really get on my nerves. Now, one of the most interesting depictions of mice throughout all of history and religion is something that I came across when actually going back to, you know who, Ganesha. Remember all of that stuff I talked about him with Rumshi? And how they are absolutely not connected even though everyone thinks they are? You can check out that video for more details, by the way. Ganesha is often seen riding or riding with something that depicts a mouse, rodent, shrew, or a rat. According to the historian Paul Martin de Bost, this connection actually goes back a long way, back to the central and western regions of India from the 7th century. In said artistic depictions, rats and mice are often seen circling around Ganesha's feet. Now, when it comes to the written depictions, mice are often seen in the Matsya Purana, and later in the Brahmadana Purana and the Ganesha Purana. Not the Purana with the bitey teeth, the other Purana. The Ganapati Artha Vashirsha often actually depicts mice in their verses. The terms Musaka Vahana, mouse mount, and Akukitana, the rat banner, are often seen in text in symbiosis as well. Now, speaking of the Ganesha Purana, we actually gotta have some context, so I'll provide some of the text. There was a celestial musician god by the name Krauncha. One day in the court of Lord Indra, Krauncha accidentally stepped on the foot of Muni Vemadeva, who got enraged and cursed Krauncha to become a mouse. However, Krauncha became a huge mountain-sized mouse and ended up damaging everything in its path. Once, he ended up stepping on the ashram of Mahashri Prasha, with whom Lord Ganesha was staying, and destroying it. Lord Ganesha, in order to teach Krauncha a lesson, unleashed his noose on Krauncha, which ended up looping around the mouse and bringing him to Lord Ganesha's feet. Ganesha then said something around the lines of, "Krauncha, you have caused a lot of trouble and you deserve a severe punishment. But since you ask for my forgiveness, I will pardon you and use you as my vehicle." Now, it's not just this interpretation. Throughout history, there are different kinds of interpretations of mice. Here's another example. Along these lines, Michael Wilcoxon says it symbolizes those who wish to overcome desires and be less selfish. Krisha notes that the rat is destructive and a menace to crops. The Sanskrit word musaka, mouse, is derived from the root mus, stealing or robbing. It was essential to subdue the rat as a destructive pest, a type of vighna or impediment that needed to be overcome. According to this theory, showing Ganesha as a master of the rat demonstrates his function as Vigneshvara, Lord of Obstacles, and gives evidence of his possible role as a folk Grama Devata, village deity, who later rose to greater prominence. Martin Dubost notes a view that the rat is a symbol suggesting that Ganesha, like the rat, penetrates even the most secret places. That might contribute to the negative opinion of rats and mice, because they are often seen to be stealing. But for now, let's go back to Dragon Ball and depict those universal crests again like we did in the past, this time Universe 4's. At first glance, you might be forgiven into thinking that this is just one of those cookie-cutter MMORPG symbols for assassins and rogues and crusaders and stuff like that. It looks pretty generic, and I would understand if you thought that. That and snakes. Snakes are cool though. However, one question comes up time and time again surrounding Universe 4 and its symbol and its god itself. Why is the symbol yellow? And why is Quitela yellow? Well, it's time for us to delve back into one of my absolute favourite topics, not just on this channel, but in general. Colour theories. So I've talked about the colour yellow many times throughout the different videos surrounding this topic. It's not just one meaning though, there are different meanings with different cultures, so not one value is the same. For some cultures it could represent jollity and positivity, in others it could be really deceitful and negative. One of the most interesting associations with the colour yellow in history is that of Judas Iscariot. You know, the guy who ratted out Jesus? I mean, if you look at the crest of Universe 4 you'll begin to get the idea. That then comes back again to the colour yellow, which can be seen negatively, for emotions such as envy, jealousy, and duplicity. Not only that, but can also be connected to moneylenders and finance because, you know, yellow, gold, representing money. So okay, let's go back to Eastern culture for a second, and this time, China. In Chinese culture, there are 5 directions on the compass: north, south, east, west, and the center. Each of these directions has its own symbolic color. In the case of the middle, that is yellow. Unlike the negative associations of yellow like I talked about just now, in Chinese culture, yellow is actually seen quite positively. It represents glory, wisdom, and fulfillment. In fact, it's second in popularity only to red. If these colors are positive to Chinese people, then have it on the flag. Represent how cool they are. Okay, enough of flags, back to the compasses. China is often referred to as the Middle Kingdom, and at this point, the emperor will be slap bang in the middle of the Chinese Empire, denoting that the emperor was the center of the universe. Everything revolved around him. Whatever the emperor said, went. It was all and ever shall be. Now, for the last iteration of yellow, we gotta look to something a bit more popular culture-y. In this case, World of Warcraft. Players out there, as well as any other types of MMOs, you might associate yellow with the color of rogues, as it is often depicted as the colour of that class. It's also associated with the acts of hedonism and pleasure, something that Quitela often subscribes to. To be honest, most of the interpretations that I've talked about just now can really sum up Quitela quite well. You can pick and choose whatever you like, it'll all come back to Quitela. That is very unusual. I really wasn't satisfied. I really wanted to get to know the roots of Quitela, really understand the nitty-gritty. Not just him, but the fighters from his universe as well. There's always a hook with his fighters. They really provide the biggest clue. Initially, that was quite a hard task. Up until recently, the fighters of Universe 4 seemed kind of vague, but from episode 104 onwards, things began to come into place when we actually got to see the Universe 4 fighters fight. And the tipping point for all of that was the little guy, Ganos. At first, we thought this guy was just a basic scout and nothing more. You know, someone that was just a lackey there to help Quitela, but no, he got to compete after all, and it turned out he was quite strong. Ganos is a very curious individual, and his transformation in particular is one of the weirdest and most unusual. An elf-like being then just changing himself into a bird that can shoot lightning. Wait a minute, guys, I think I got the clue now. It's just come to my head just now. I know where he came from! He's basically Zapdos! Okay, no, that was a joke. But it's not that far-fetched. Ganos and Zapdos are based on the same mythological creature, and that is the Thunderbird. The Thunderbird originated from the indigenous tribes of the North American region, and it was synonymous with their culture, a huge part of their identity. And not just that, their law and society kind of hinged upon the Thunderbird. It is a being that possesses incredible power and strength, and it's got a cool name. It's often seen in art, music, cars, and most notably, at least for me, the program Thunderbirds. The imposing look of the Thunderbird influenced and assured many different peoples. Its mighty stare and powerful demeanor was a look of confidence. It was something to behold. And if you think about it, it might have been the precursor to why the bald eagle is so associated with the USA today. In other myths surrounding the Bird of Thunder, it could also assume a human form. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Ganos changing into a Thunderbird? But what about the rest of the team? What do they do? Well, we have a wolf and a fox who are also both totemic animals, 2 bugs that we haven't literally seen yet, although we soon will, and of course Durkari, who seems to be some kind of sea creature. Now, it might seem a bit of a stretch, but there are myths and legends concerning merpeople and sea serpents in Native American history. Something about hypnotic powers and luring, which is something that we do see with Durkari in some way, manipulating reality and whatnot. As for Nink, well, he doesn't really have a mythological history, but it's more of a fantastical one, that of the orc. Most likely from the Warcraft universe that I mentioned earlier. Now you might be thinking that the theory is about to unravel at this point, but if you play the game, you will know that orcs and the Horde are associated with totemism and shamanism, something that we see time and time again. So everything now fits into place. Well, almost everything. Shansa, Kawe, and Mona are really hard to fit to the Native American mold, but hey, 7 out of 10 ain't bad. It's worth a pass, wouldn't you think? If the likes of Prom can be in the universe too, despite going against the grain about what they actually represent, hey, all's good. Now, what does this all provide when it comes to the origins of Quitela? Well, I actually found a pretty interesting Native American fairy tale concerning mice. The fairy tale that I'm bringing up concerns adaptability and transformations, something that most members of Universe 4 seem to possess to varying degrees. Here's a short excerpt from the story. I'll leave a link to the full version in the description for you. One day, Mouse worked up the courage and began following the sound. The slithering ones and the furry ones pounced out from every nook, but Mouse was able to escape each time. He felt the air flutter, and fear creep back in again. He knew it was the mighty eagle who had come for him. Sure enough, off his perch he was snatched and carried him up into the heavens. He thought he was one dead mouse, but behold, a miracle! Mouse himself had been transformed into a great eagle. Again, if you read the full story, you'll be able to get a better idea. As you can see, Quitela and Universe 4 blends itself well to Native American culture and totemism as a whole. Of course, I might be overthinking things. Maybe he's only there to create a mouse rival for Beerus because, hey, Beerus is a cat, have a mouse, they don't get along, how funny. I hope you like this journey into actually one of the more underrated and interesting universes in this tournament. It's easy to write off Universe 4 since they've not really done much recently in the tournament, but they're really about to come into play now. There are only 4 universes left and they're one of them. Maybe they might be the biggest influence yet. We shall wait and see. So what do you guys think? Do you like these differing interpretations of Quitela? Do you feel different about Universe 4? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one, be sure to like and subscribe. Catch you later!